yards. And it comes back, and it comes right to you, and you don't have to move, and you just catch it. How's that even possible? So, first I'll start with the complicated stuff. Even before you make a boomerang, you have to pick the right wood. So the wood has to be light, the wood has to be strong, you have to make it in the right shape, you have to make these nice little airfoils on top of it. So that's before you even get started. Then when you actually make the boomerang, you have to cut it out of plywood or some other kind of wood, and then you have to shape it, and then you go out and throw it, and it doesn't quite work right, you take it back and you sand it some more, and you go out and throw it, and it doesn't work right, and you come back and you sand it again. So once you've pre-made it, then once you've made the boomerang, then you throw it. But when you throw the boomerang, you have to throw it with the flat side of your palm. You have to throw it at the right angle. You have to put the right amount of spin on it. You have to throw it the right height. You have to throw it with the right amount of snap. It's all pretty complicated. So you've pre-made the boomerang, you've made the boomerang, you've thrown the boomerang. Now, once you throw the boomerang, that's when the science really gets complicated. Because people say to me, well, what makes a boomerang come back? All right. First is Newton's first law. It's the law of inertia. Anything that goes in motion will tend to stay in motion unless acted on by an outside force. So you have Newton's first law. Secondly, you have Bernoulli's principle. Bernoulli's principle is what aerodynamics is founded on. It's the principle of lift. Lift is, if you're going to be on the Earth, not in space, lift affects everything. So you've got these nice little airfoils that just act like a wing. Lift is really, you've got air going over, air going under. There's less pressure on top because of this foil, so it raises. That's what lift is. So if I was to throw this boomerang like this, like kids do, and they pick it up, it would go straight up and straight down. But if I throw it to the side, unequal air pressure takes it to the side. The third principle, well, there's a lot of principles. The last principle is gyroscopic precession. If you had a top, let's say you had a top on the floor, and it's circling like this. There's a little stem, usually when you have a top, either you use a rope and so you have a stem. So if that thing was going full blast and I pushed this direction with my finger, what direction do you think it would go? It would go this direction. That's gyroscopic precession. If it was standing still, I pushed it, it would go that way, but since it's spinning like this, it goes this way. Centrifugal force, Bernoulli's principle, gyroscopic. So that's a lot of stuff, but you know what? When I throw a boomerang, I don't think about any of that stuff anymore. All the making and all of the scientific principles go out the window, and it just comes back. It's just a miracle. And it is my dharma, it is my karma, it is my yoga, and I totally love it. So I can't throw this boomerang because it obviously goes 4 yards, but I have a roomerang. Sorry, I forgot about the fan there. I hardly ever miss, but I'll have to make allowances for that fan.
Wow. A boomerang!
See the karma involved in it? The better you make it, the better you throw it, the more that comes right back to you. There'll be a test. Of course, me being a musician, I had to write a song about throwing the boomerang. So, this is the boomerang song. I wanted to make it sound like a boomerang going. Every little thing that you say and do, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. All the to give if you wanted to, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. It will come back to you. It will come back. Every time you fight against something new, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. Every single thought that you hold as true, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. So science and mind. It will come back to you. It will come back. Round, round like the seasons, dark into light and day back to nighttime. Now, circles completion. Rain to the river, to the ocean, returns to the sky. After you were born, you forgot what is true, but like a boomerang, it will come back to you. May not recall what you came here to do, but like a boomerang, it will come back to you. All right, you can help me out with this. It will come back to you. It will come back. It will come back. Oh, let's do that again. It will come back to you. It will come back. All that you desire when you ask it to, just like a boomerang, it will come back to you. It may seem like fortune sailing out of the blue, but like a boomerang, it has come back to you. Here we go. It will come back to you. It will come back. It will come back to you. It will come back. It will come
Amazing. And I looked at the material that I wanted to present for this topic this morning. I just kept thinking of that song, and it's like, wow, Robert has a song that's perfect. And then, of course, we get to use the topic of boomerang. And I want to thank Abigail Shearer, who has shared some of her thoughts about this topic with the CSL ministers, and she's an absolute delight. Boomerang. There was once a farmer who sold butter, a pound of butter, to the baker almost every day. The baker would come in and leave with a pound of butter. And one day, the baker said, you know, I'm going to weigh this, and I'm going to see if I'm really getting a full pound of butter. So he weighed it, and sure enough, he was not getting a full pound of butter. So it pissed him off. It made him angry, and he took the farmer to court. So the judge says to the farmer, says, well, now, do you have some way you can accurately weigh this butter? And the farmer said, oh, Your Honor, I'm a simple man, and I don't have a way to accurately weigh it. And the judge says, well, then, how do you know you're giving him, a full pound of butter? And the farmer says, yeah, long before I started selling butter to the baker, I bought a pound loaf of bread from him each day. And I have a balance scale. And so when the baker comes in the morning, he brings me this loaf of bread, a pound of bread. I put it on the balance scale, and I give him that much butter. I give him the same amount as he gives me. And so, Judge, if anyone is at fault, it's really, really the baker. And the moral of the story? Boomerang. It comes back to us. What we put out comes back to us. Now, if I had known all of the things you were going to share, I would have woven a bunch of them in a very different way, but because I love hearing that. Aerodynamically, a boomerang is designed so that it spins a curve, and when thrown correctly, comes right back to the thrower. It comes right back to where it started. And we've seen how Robert's Boomerang works, which is really pretty cool. And I found, one of the pictures I found was a boomerang with the word karma on it. Now, karma is the idea that what we put out comes back to us. It's the total boomerang concept, that thoughts that we have, actions, choices that we make, come back with their consequences. They come back to us so that we can learn from them. But they do come back to us. Definitely the boomerang concept. But this offers us an amazing opportunity. It offers us the amazing opportunity to put out what we want to have come back to us as individuals, and it gives us the opportunity to put out there what we want to see in the world. Definitely boomerang stuff. Okay, is there anyone in the room that couldn't handle more love in your life? And even if you have a lot, anyone that couldn't stand more? Okay, how about money? Is there anyone here that couldn't handle having more financial abundance? Did you start to raise your hand? Would you slap his hand, please? He was just kidding. Jesus said, "Give, and it is given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Give, and it is given unto you." That is the boomerang effect. Now, it can work for us or against us, because if we look at the world with suspicion, if we look out on other people like that, we might notice that it seems like people are being suspicious of us. And of course, if we look out on the world and on other people with eyes of love, then that is what the universe boomerangs back to us. We get more of what we put out there. Now, if what we want to receive isn't showing up in our life, we may want to experiment with giving out more of that very same thing. And I know it doesn't seem to make sense, but an example. If I want more respect from my family, I could try experimenting, because this is all about experimenting and seeing what works. I could try experimenting saying please and thank you. And I could then watch what happens if I just keep doing that, if I'm putting out what I would like to get back. In the upcoming Prosperity Plus class, we'll be talking about and experimenting with the idea of tithing, with doing that with our money, with putting out to our source of inspiration what we would like to get back and what we want to share, of course. Because there are some amazing stories out there of people who have taken up the practice of tithing, giving a percentage of their money to their source of inspiration. And they say that what comes back to them is far beyond what they think would be coming back to them if they weren't practicing the art of and the principle of tithing. Because tithing is a spiritual principle, but sometimes, like the boomerang, it just seems like a miracle. And the same thing works, of course, with love and time and support and care. As we take our energy and move it out into the world, there is the boomerang effect. Now, in order for us to create a world that works for everyone, we have to be willing to show up with the energy and the action that we want to see in the world. We need to put it out there. We have each come to this planet at this time, at this interesting time, with our own God-given gifts, all a little different. But unless we use those gifts, unless we are willing to step out and make a difference in the world with who we are, things are probably not going to change the way we would really like them to. Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in others, in service to others. Boom. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service to others. And here's what Wayne Dyer had to say in his book, Manifest Your Destiny. Service at its very basic core is an inner choice to offer a helpful and healing attitude to others, as well as ourselves. Service is best thought of as a continual focus in your life, rather than being limited to only certain kinds of giving activities. Service is a state of mind that expresses love rather than fear, trust rather than distrust. It's focused on meeting all others as equals with whom we share a spiritual identity. This inner attitude of love reveals itself in action. And I would say that's the attitude of service. So I happen to have some suggestions as to how we can cope, or how we can give and share and serve. Now, first of all, of course, we can give in alignment with our values and beliefs. We can walk our talk. We often talk really good talk, but we need to move it into action. If you truly believe in peace, spread peace wherever you go. If you truly believe in peace, find peace instead of war within yourself. For often, that's where we need to find peace first. If you truly believe in love, find ways to love the unlovable. Give love to someone who is difficult or even hateful. And if you believe in a world that works for everyone, start speaking out for social justice. Start speaking out for those who do not have the same privileges that we have in life. If you believe that God is all there is, and that it's everywhere and in everyone, then start treating everybody you see as a god or goddess. Start treating the earth as holy ground. Start treating your body like the temple of the Most High. And start sharing more and more words of love. In the book Spiritual Economics, Eric Butterworth said, "Life's inmost secret is the divine pattern in you, which you can only really know when you are giving yourself in service. The divine pattern in you that you can only know when you're giving yourself in service." And then, of course, we can create a whole lifestyle of giving. You can do that through sharing your treasure and your time to the places that spiritually fulfill and uplift you. If you're not being as active as you like to think you are in your mind, in taking care of issues either here in our spiritual community or in the world, it might be time to give yourself a little kick in the place and to act on what it is really important to you, because what you may find out is that it may give you far more than you ever imagined. There's a story from The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwene Gaines. And this is her story. She is a wonderful storyteller. Back in the 1970s, she says, when I was in ministerial school, I already knew everything I needed to know. No one else knew that I did, but I knew it. I decided that I was going to start teaching. So I arrived at Unity Village, she's a Unitarian minister, and I started going around to all the churches in the area saying, "Hi, I'm here and I'm ready to teach." Well, everybody laughed at me because all of the ministerial students wanted to teach. And the churches in the area were overwhelmed with people offering to do it. So she was annoyed. She says, "I was annoyed that no one wanted my services. I continued to offer my brilliance, but no one threw down the welcome mat the way I thought they would." So I prayed about it. What a concept. So I prayed about it. And finally I got the guidance to go to the church that was nearest my home. Instead of going in and offering to teach, I went in and I asked the minister, "What do you need doing? What is it that you need in this ministry?" She told me, and I said, "I can do that." Every Saturday and every Sunday, I would mop the floor and fold the bulletins and make the coffee. I did it week after week after week after week. Nobody said thank you. Nobody even noticed that I was doing it. But the funny thing that happened was that the more I did it, the more I began to love doing it. And as time passed, I began to find more and more things that needed doing, like putting the toilet paper in the bathrooms, making sure the cobwebs were off the ceiling fans, and cleaning up the mess the kids made when they ate snacks and drank Kool-Aid. I was doing all of these things that no one else even noticed needed doing, and I was totally enjoying myself. And I kind of forgot about teaching. She says, once you learn the joy of giving and serving, that's what happens. Serving is no longer a chore or a burden. And she shared this quote from Albert Schweitzer. He says, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but this one thing I know. The only ones of you who will be truly happy are those of you who have sought and found a way to serve." She goes on to say, then very early one Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m., I got a telephone call from the minister. "Edwene, I've got laryngitis," she whispered. "Would you go in and teach the Sunday school, adult Sunday school, and do the service this morning?" Edwene was thrilled. She said that was far more than I had ever signed up to do. I never expected to actually do a church service. I just wanted to teach a little class. But what happens is that when you show the universe that you really mean that you're here to serve, not just to get your name in lights and get all the glory, but you're really here to serve from a heart space that says, "God, I really want this world to work for everybody." When you come from that space, the universe knows you're finally ready. In other words, when you get to the point that you have the humility to mop the floor and fold the bulletins, and that you actually genuinely enjoy doing it, suddenly you may get to do what you love even more. So do you want to up-level your life? What if the key to life isn't what we get, but what we give? Here's what Lauren Tyler Wright had to say in her book, Giving, the Sacred Art. Just like any spiritual practice, giving is something that can be integrated into our lives. When we create a lifestyle of giving, not just participating in a whirlwind of giving one weekend and then dropping the practice, our lives can become continuously filled with the blessings that come from this spiritual practice. Creating a lifestyle of generosity is more than just behavioral modifications. It's seeing the world differently every day. When we're able to change our paradigm and see each moment and aspect of our life as an opportunity to be generous, we open ourselves up to experience the rich rewards that occur through sustained giving. And what if it's not just what we do that makes a difference? What if it's how we do it? What if it's the consciousness that we bring to every act that we choose to do? I mean, we can make dinner and be worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. Or we can make dinner and be infusing the food with love. Be imagining that in addition to good nutrition, that everyone that eats this food, us included, will be blessed with love and peace, with radiant health. We have a choice about how we do things. And so I challenge you to do something like that this week. It doesn't have to be creating food for other people or for yourselves. It could be something where you put out the energy that you want to get back. You could send a note to someone and infuse it with love and blessings. You could imagine that even as you speak, that the words that flow out of your mouth and out of your heart are just filled with blessings. Because it's our intentions that are so important. And it's our intentions that put that energy out. And then it boomerangs back to us, of course. Or you could reach out and touch someone, imagining that your gentle touch can convey love and peace and joy. However you reach out to bless, however you reach out to share love with others, just as that boomerang came right back around, it will come back around to you. So now as practitioners stand with me in high consciousness, I want to invite everyone in the room to just open your heart even wider. Absolutely feel the love of the divine moving into and through your heart and into and through my heart. I invite you to feel that the very words that I speak are imbued with the love and the peace of the divine. That this love, these blessings, are flowing out, surrounding you, enfolding you, encouraging all of the love and the blessings that are within you. But that's what it's about, folks. It's about opening our hearts and living from that place. It's about being willing to be who we have come here to be. It's about walking our talk with open hearts and open minds, knowing that the Spirit returns to us, just as the song says, and it returns to me. As we send our love, as we send our peace, as we send our joy over the mountain, it returns to us. And so in this place of blessing, I absolutely claim for each one here a path that is filled with guidance and motivation to give what is ours to give in our particular way, in our particular place, knowing that those that we share with are divine. For there is only one life that moves through all people, all beings, all matter. One energy that everything is made of. We can call it love intelligence, we can call it God, we can call it spirit, we can call it divine essence, but it's here for us. It's inviting us to share it. To share it. So I claim that each one here is given ways to do that this week, ways that are joyful, ways that are delightful, ways that are feeding our souls. As we let this love, this peace, this joy go out into the universe, I know that it's so. I know that there is this part of God that says yes to what we claim. And so as I have claimed this for each of us, it is done. We move forth as vessels of blessing, vessels of good, vessels of love. And if you would like to claim that along with me, I invite you to say, and so it is. Love her.
mention me.
This is the time in our service when we get to share our love, when we get to put into the basket that comes around whatever looks like love to us. It can be joy, it can be money, it can be blessings, but it is our gift knowing that it is multiplied and comes back to us. Let's share our offering affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and